Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. And yes, you see correctly, this is my spoiled little doggy Nutella. Guys, today I want to talk to you about real estate, which I actually haven't talked to you about for a while. But in fact, I was recently just reflecting on some of the best investments that I've done. And I always talk about, dividend growth investing, which is great, but that takes many years to grow and really show results, right? The same with Bitcoin. It's been doing well, recently not so much for me. But when I really look at all the various investments I've done, my real estate investment of my apartment in Dubai was actually by far the best investment I've done. So that begs the question for me, should I invest more into real estate going forward? And obviously right now we all live in an environment of really high inflation, and that led to high interest rate, which is great if you save your money. Now finally we're getting some money on our savings again, which is great. I do the same with my Lightyear account where I get 2.75% interest, on my Trade Republic account where I get 2% interest. So I'm getting some passive money on my savings, which is great. But of course, on the flip side, if now you're planning to buy an apartment or a house and you want to borrow money from the bank for your mortgage, it's extremely expensive. I mean, some of the mortgages, when I speak to people, they're now signing at 5, 6, up to 7% their mortgage, which is obviously extremely high and will impact your monthly payments that you're going to have to make on your mortgage back to the bank every single month. And even people who previously got a mortgage, secured a low interest loan, some of those have been fixed for a while, but that expires now. And I know quite a few people where now the interest jumped up so high that basically their monthly payment almost doubled. If let's say you used to spend 500 euros a month on your apartment to pay off the mortgage, now it might be 1,000 euros. If you make 1,500 euros, you're really going to start getting into trouble. So a lot of people have been challenged by that, obviously, and I feel for that. At the same time, if you do have money and have a higher income, I do think at the same time it is a great opportunity to buy. And sometimes, as we know, a good investor has to be a bit of a contrarian. So when everybody says wait and see or sell, it's not a good time, maybe actually it is a good time. And there are a few reasons for it. So let me explain. The first one is definitely reduced competition. When the markets are hot, low interest, for a while here in Vilnius, Lithuania, everybody was seemingly buying an apartment. I mean, it was crazy, Really line level employees told me, oh, I just bought my new apartment. I was like, wow, I mean, I didn't even own an apartment in Vilnius because it was quite expensive. So I think it was a little bit overheated and everybody got into the game. Now it cooled off again. Not the prices yet. I do think that will follow later on. But obviously because the interest rates are so high, banks are also a little bit more reluctant to actually give a mortgage. So sometimes you need to bring more equity, meaning a higher amount of your own money first. Previously, it used to be 5, 10, 15%. Now some banks ask 20, even 25% of your own capital. So if you want to buy an apartment for, let's say, 100,000 euros, in this case, you would have to bring 25,000 euros of your own money, right? So that's one thing, but that also leads to less competition, less people wanting to buy and more people having to sell, because once again, some of them being liquidated, they can't afford the mortgage anymore, so they're forced to sell. And that way, that's why I said over time I do think the prices will come down a little bit. So if you have the money right now to make a purchase, I really think there could be some great opportunities to be had. Of course, when you do the math and you see the interest rate, it is a little bit shocking at the time being, but honestly, I personally think we reached the peak. It might be 0.5%, 1 more percent up, but I don't think it's going to go significantly up. And eventually, I do think it will cool off a little bit more. I don't think it's going to go back to what it used to be, pretty much zero or even negative interest rates, though long term, I do think it will cool off. And then obviously your monthly payments will also be much less. And the good thing here is, let's not forget that the rents actually stayed fairly high, if not increased, because less people are buying, so more people go back to renting. And that means the rents have been really escalating because landlords obviously are greedy and they factor in the inflation, so they're putting up the rent as well. So if you're a smart investor, you have the necessary down payment for an apartment or a house, you pay it to the bank, you get the mortgage, the rest financed at probably a higher rate, but you do the math before, because in many deals, if you buy in a good location, you can still, even with a high interest, manage to rent out the apartment at a higher price than what you're actually going to be getting in terms of rent. So obviously you have to run the numbers yourself. At the worst case scenario, it's going to match your mortgage payment, so you're not really losing or gaining anything. But as I said, once the interest starts cooling off, hopefully your rent will still stay high, if not go higher. That's why I always recommend buying in some good location, because that usually carries the value high, and then you're going to start pocketing the difference while obviously the rent is paying off your equity. So every month you have more equity in that property, so that after a couple of years you've actually paid off your mortgage and you fully own the apartment or the house, whatever it may be. When I was in Dubai, they had developer financing as well, which is amazing. Basically, I didn't actually pay any interest. The developer and the builder of the property basically gave you an interest-free loan. That means that every month or every 6 months you make a fixed payment to the developer and they basically use that money to continue building the project. So in a way, obviously, probably the interest is factored in, but you don't have a direct interest rate to the bank that you're paying, and it's kind of factored in the whole price, so you really know what you're getting and it doesn't fluctuate. It might be a little bit pricier, but then again, the yield you're getting right now in Dubai is really, really high and actually way more than you would be getting in any kind of banks that I mentioned before. So if you have the necessary funds, I really think now is an amazing time to make a property purchase. Personally, right now, I'm actually saving up a little bit to hopefully in the future be in a position where I have enough down payment to buy another property. But at the same time, I'm also playing with the idea of going after really cheap rundown properties that you can really get on a bargain, where you don't even need to maybe necessarily get a mortgage. You just buy them at really a very low value, which I found in Vilnius. There's quite a few places, a bit in the outskirts, of course, and probably in your city, wherever you live. Just go on the real estate pages and go outside of city center, and you'll be surprised. You really find, if you filter down, houses built in the 80s or 90s, you really find amazing bargains. And with a little bit of money, a little bit of taste, redecoration, sometimes you have to spend a little bit more, but if you have a great architect and interior planner, you can really make it pretty without overspending. And then you kind of market it through your own social media, through friends, etc. And you can really make a nice bargain if you resell it at a higher value. Now, obviously there is a risk to it, but at the same time, I think if it's a low priced property that you can afford to buy, worst case, you can always sell it for the same price. I mean, most likely, unless the market goes completely south, but worst case, you can still rent it out, get that monthly cash flow. But that's something what I could see myself in the future, because I love real estate. I like kind of interior design, etc. And I like real estate and investing. So I think that could be really something exciting for the future, to do a couple of properties like this, buy old ones, cheap price, make them pretty, market them, and sell them and pocket the difference. So that will be projects for the future. We'll see. If I'll do that, I'll definitely document it on this channel. But yes, guys, honestly, when you read the news and everybody tells you, run away, the market is tanking and collapsing, we heard about the recession and the fall of the global economy for more than a year. And well, here we are, and still things seem to be going just fine. So I think, sometimes if you have an idea, you just need to execute it. There's never a perfect time. It might be that right after you do it, the market will drop, but long term, if you buy in good cities, in good locations, it's highly unlikely that your investment is going to zero, which can't be said for some of the meme stock we've seen, for some of the cryptocurrencies we've seen out there. Investment to real estate, worst case, you can move in yourself, you can rent it out. There's so many things that you can do with it, and I think that makes it really an amazing asset to invest in. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Next up, check out this video over here. I appreciate you so much for watching. As always, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I see you in the next one. Ciao!